Good evening and welcome to Tunnel Vision, a show presented to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host, Jack Smith, joined in studio by Ryan Abraham, and we've got a special guest as we preview UCLA. One of the biggest veterans of the rivalry. We've got USC captain and one of the veteran leaders, Justin Dedich, joining the show. Hey, Justin, thank you so much for coming and joining us here on Tunnel Vision.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
What's up, Justin? Thanks for coming on. You're on campus somewhere. It sounds like you got some busy stuff going on around you.
Yeah, I am. I'm currently at Rock and Riley. currently at Rock and Riley, just hanging out, just doing some schoolwork. And then the concourse is actually going on. Not too far, so I might have to go check it out.
Yeah, well, as we kind of mentioned earlier, there's some people in the chat. We're gonna kind of filter those through as it goes. If you guys are in the chat right now, thank you so much for joining the show and watching. It's a pleasure to have Justin on as we preview USC and UCLA. If you have questions for Justin, we'll get to those towards the end of the show, so make sure to leave your comments there in the chat, as well as hit the like button, the subscribe button. But thank you guys so much for joining the show. Justin, we kind of hinted at it earlier. You're in a unique position as someone that has played in many a USC-UCLA rivalry game. This will be your sixth upcoming this Saturday. 3-2 record. I think that's pretty good so far. We'll see how it goes on Saturday. But as you look back on the 5 that you've been a part of so far and the 6th one that's coming up, what to you makes the rivalry so special?
Man, it's always just such a good game. Like, I don't know if any game has been really. I take that back. 2021 we got blown out, but I don't know. 2019. 2020, 2022, it all came down to a wire, a handful of plays. And those are the kind of games, that you live for in college football. So just excited to get this 6th opportunity.
As you look back at the 5 that you have played, is there a favorite moment for you in any of those games? Maybe a favorite one of those 3 wins?
They seem nice, but I would say the 2019 one was pretty special for me. It was one of my first starts as a college player, and I believe 4 of our receivers had over 100 yards receiving. And so it kind of just offensively we were electric, and it was cool to be a part of that and know I contributed to those passing yards. I would say that's one that I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. And obviously last year's was just a spectacular win to seal the Pac-12 championship spot. Our guys battled that whole game, and then seeing Corey pick off the pass in the last play, it was just something ingrained in my mind forever.
Yeah, that was a crazy one for sure in the Rose Bowl. We'll see what kind of excitement we get Saturday night or Saturday day for in the Coliseum with USC and UCLA. I did want to thank. So we've been doing these House of Victory interviews with players throughout the season, and it's been great. So thanks to House of Victory for setting these up. This was the first time we're kind of merging the two together. We're doing our preview show for USC and UCLA and our sort of House of Victory interview with a player at the same time. We thought, well, let's bring in Justin, who's been around this game for a long time, to sort of do the preview. So I wanted to thank you for coming in for that. And just wanted to give you an opportunity how House of Victory has kind of helped you this year for you, in your senior season. Did we lose his audio?
Hey, Justin.
House of Victory's been awesome for me. Nope. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Sorry. House of Victory's been incredible for me and my family. Just being able to get my parents and family members out to every game has meant so much for my last year. And then just obviously just the people I've met that want to support our program has been unreal. You really feel the Trojan love, and it's cool. It's cool to have been in both parts of college athletics, where in the beginning I didn't receive anything except the stipend check, and it was kind of like living paycheck to paycheck in a sense. Rarely went out, rarely got meals outside. Now it's kind of like I can go out to eat as much as I want, do those types of things. Sorry, is it really loud outside?
No, you're good.
But yes,
Okay.
it is.
All right, I'm gonna move. Hopefully, you guys don't lose me. You still got me?
Yeah, this is an adventure here.
I know. It's our first time for everything on a podcast. But yeah, so it's been awesome for my family and then myself included, just because I've been able to take a girlfriend out on nice dates or something, or do stuff like that. And it's just cool to be a part of the changing times in college football.
And they got this promotion going on right now for 50. They're trying to get, so I mean, there's always talk about big boosters donating money and everything, but they want to get regular folks to give $50, and I think the promotion's been doing very well. I know there was an anonymous donor that the campaign is to try to raise $250,000. And there was an anonymous donor that's going to match up to that. So I don't know if they've, I saw you retweet that a little bit too. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting promotion going on. And they also have the House of Victory tailgate, the last one of the season at the Coliseum. So go check that out. The Rex Steakhouse does a really good job providing the food and everything for that. But yeah, good luck. I guess for you, you're trying to build up the coffers for next season when you're not going to be around, but you're still trying to help out the House of Victory while on your way out, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's an important piece, for recruitment and just trying to get guys to, stay at programs too. There's that whole aspect of it now. I don't know how any of that's going to play out, but yeah, it's just a changing dynamic. So it is important for USC to get as much support as they can, because we obviously want to get best recruits and we want to keep the best recruits in the country.
I think we got to talk about the game that's coming up this Saturday. Obviously, maybe not the season that you guys have wanted so far with the expectations you guys had coming in. Caleb kind of mentioned that earlier this week. So did Lincoln. But you still have that rivalry chance, and you know better than anyone what the rivalry means. So you guys still have an opportunity here to finish the season, get to 8-4 in the regular season, but also a chance to earn a rivalry win, which is still sweet no matter what the expectations were coming into the season and what the record is. It could be the only win of the season, and it still feels good to get that rivalry win. So as you look forward to Saturday, maybe what's your outlook on the game that's coming up?
Yeah, it's like you said, rivalry games are really tough to play. Like looking back at these last two Notre Dame and UCLA games, it always comes down to the wire. So it's always a huge victory no matter what your record is. Obviously, like you said, season hasn't been going how we wanted to, but I'm just proud of this group. We've had a great week of preparation, great week of practice, and the guys, they're still bought into the program. We're still giving full effort. We're still having full pad Tuesday practices, and everyone understands the importance of this game, what it means for school and university. And so it's a cool feeling being a leader and seeing that, and guys not giving up in a sense.
UCLA's been able to turn their defense around this year. It's going to look different than what you guys saw last year. D'Anton Lynn has took over there, and the pass rush has been really good. Specifically, what have you kind of seen on film from the front seven from UCLA? It looked like it's a really formidable bunch.
Yeah, I think currently they're ranked number one in the Pac-12 in terms of overall defense, which is huge. Looking at some of the competition we've faced this year, they're definitely they got some dudes up front. They got some great guys that are probably going to go play in the NFL one day. So it's a good challenge for our group. I know I'm really excited about it.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Sorry, what were you saying?
Oh yeah, no. Just from the UCLA point of view, is there? I mean, when you look at what they've been doing, do you kind of follow along just because they're the team, the local team, as what they were doing defensively? Is there any guys you're eyeing, from that front seven? It's something you kind of like, I guess, these are guys that are just across town. So I don't know if there's any kind of special. No, hey, I know what those guys are doing. I can't wait to play them till at the end of the season.
You kind of just watch game here and there throughout the season. I knew, like Latu, obviously from last year, and then the two Murphy brothers. I knew that they were really, really special talents and special players, and so you always just kind of watch and see them from game to game. But once you get that deep dive analysis on Monday morning, I was like, holy crap! Like they're ranked number 1 in the pack. Like these guys are doing something special. And then watching all the games this week in preparation, you kind of see their talent level, their skill level. You just get a mad respect for them. So it's I'm excited for our group to go against them. Excited, for this opportunity and challenge. Really, this game is falling on the shoulders of us up front. So I wouldn't want it any other way for a rivalry game.
Yeah, I think that Latu and the two Murphys, all three of them are in the top 10 in the nation in pressures. So certainly getting to the quarterback, bringing quarterback down a lot. And you guys have faced some strong fronts with Notre Dame, with Utah, last week with Oregon. How have you seen the offensive line grow from week 1 amidst some of these tests that you guys have had and some of the shuffles that have been made as well?
Yeah, it hasn't been definitely been kind of it's different than last year. Last year was kind of a solid 5 throughout the entire year. And this year, it's been a mix and match of a bunch of different guys playing a bunch of different positions. So I'm just proud of our group, for sticking together, no one becoming selfish. Everyone, still works as hard at practice. And so that's just kind of a cool thing for our group because we all want the success of our group, to be something great. And so no one's been selfish or anything like that, and everyone's been pushing each other to make each other a better player. So it's just I'm proud from that aspect. And then, obviously Notre Dame, that was kind of our lowest of lows that week. We had we didn't play too well that week, and then last week we definitely had to go in and fix some technique errors as a group because we let up too many pressures. So it is a bummer because you always get upset when your group's the one that could have done a little better, to change the outcome of the game. But it's also just a huge learning moment for myself and even young guys to see that no matter what, you got to come in, you got to prepare your butt off for the opponent you're about to face. You can't take a play off. You got to have your technique in check every down. So.
Yeah. Looking on the defensive side of the ball for USC, UCLA's offense have struggled the last couple of weeks, so only 17 points total. Obviously, USC's defense hasn't been, on top of its game. What have you seen differently in the last couple of weeks of practices now that Sean Nua and Brian Odom have taken over, and what kind of challenge do you think they're going to face trying to take on this UCLA attack?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I've seen is players step up and lead more. We always talk about it, elite teams are player-led, and I feel like since these changes have occurred, guys have kind of stepped up to fill those roles, and they've been more vocal. They've set the tone for practices, like inside run has been pretty aggressive these last couple of weeks, and it's been exciting, and lots of talking back and forth between each other. So it's been exciting, and I'm happy to see those guys step up and be leaders out there because they felt they probably had to step up with the change, and I'm glad that the guys responded well to it. And so I'm proud of the guys, and I can't wait to see how they perform this Saturday.
UCLA's offense in particular, they've struggled at different points this season. They have gone through a carousel of quarterbacks, some guys young, some guys transfer, some guys more veteran guys. And you've had years in the USC offense where you've had a mixture of young guys and veteran guys, having a couple different quarterbacks, being in transition, one starting one week, one starting another. What kind of challenges does an offense face when they are using multiple quarterbacks and you don't have that guaranteed starter like you guys have had with Caleb for the last 2 years?
Yeah, I would say just chemistry. figuring out what the QB likes to do when they scramble, or just verbal communication is a big thing. And obviously every quarterback's different. It's just getting reps with them, getting comfortable with them. That's probably the most important thing, especially from an offensive line standpoint. Their checks, how they say certain things, all that stuff. So it's just kind of building that chemistry in game scenarios and in practice. I would say that's one of the most important keys of having that whole interchangeable quarterbacks.
Lincoln Riley talked about really the first time in his head coaching career that he's playing a regular season game and they weren't vying for a conference championship. USC hasn't won a bowl game since the Rose Bowl against Penn State, so it's been a little while. How important is it trying to get to a better bowl game? And someone like you could opt out. We've seen a lot of senior players or veteran players sort of opt out. Do you see that happening, like with yourself or any other players, where they might not want to play the bowl game?
I can't speak for any of my teammates, but I know for myself, I plan on playing in the bowl game. I currently am ringless. I haven't won a single ring here. Kind of sucks, but I would love to go and try and get that opportunity in whatever bowl game we play. So I do look forward to playing in the bowl game. In terms of my teammates, I have no idea as how that's all going to shake down. But I know we got this one game coming up this Saturday that can determine what bowl game we play in, and I just want to go win with these guys this last game, and put our season on a high note, ending it. So.
In your first interview, I think it was a true freshman 5 years ago now at this point, you said that your goals were that you wanted to compete and to the best of your ability and just grind everything out. How proud would younger you be of how much that you've competed and grinded out your career here?
Shoot, I think I fulfilled that dream to a T. All the changes of coaches, players, all the times I got benched, just sticking through it and competing for the job every year in and year out, waiting for my opportunity. I think you'd be pretty proud of me, just because I can say I did that without, giving up on myself kind of thing. So, man, was that like the interview where I was talking with Toa?
I don't think so. I think it was, it was same practice field, after a practice, I think 5 years ago in fall camp.
Wow.
If you could go back, if you could go back and give him a message, just some advice about what he was going to go through for the next what ended up being 6 seasons, what would you say?
Probably tell him about COVID for sure. 'Cause that was.
I think there's a helicopter above him, so on pause for a second.
Nice. Okay. That was funny. I tell him about COVID. I don't know what.
Tell him that helicopter was coming too, I guess.
Know what you can really do.
Yeah, I would definitely. Sorry, there was a helicopter.
You're good.
It was loud. I'm in front of the Starbucks. If anyone's on the podcast, they could probably come see me in front of the Starbucks too.
Yeah.
At the Village. So, anyways, I would probably tell them about COVID and be like, man, don't gain so much weight. In the off time, do a little more work. It's not gonna be 1 month. It's gonna be like 7 months. You're not gonna get a season. I don't know. I'm pretty proud of my career. I wouldn't say I have any regrets.
Yeah.
I think I lived it to the fullest. I'm one that believes, everything works out for a purpose. So I think, how it all played out was perfectly planned for me and designed for me. So I'm just so happy with my career here, and I hope to end it on a high note.
How do you evaluate looking back this season? You got 11 games under your belt, playing center for Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. How do you feel that went, that whole transition? Because it was the whole offensive line pretty much shifted around it, right? So it was a lot of moving parts. But how do you feel like that move to center worked for you?
Yeah, it it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle for me. Having to snap infractions and um, just some basic communication errors. But I feel like I grew as a player, grew as a leader. Because last year was a bit of a you get play 4 years with those guys. We blink twice at each other. We know what we're about to run and how we're going to run it. So it's this year you kind of got to throw that all out the window, and you kind of have to go back to old things that when you first were a player. Over communicate, all those types of things. So it was nice to get back to those kind of roots. Um, I definitely feel like I progressed as the season went on. Didn't play too well in the beginning slash the middle, and then these last couple of games, I feel like I've done better individually, and then just overall just leading my group and making the right communication calls. So it wasn't as smooth as I thought it was going to go, but I'm proud that I've been able to end it on a high note, and the O-line definitely improved as the season went on. Had a little bit of a lapse last game, so hoping to bounce back this game.
We talked about how you obviously, you're in your 6th year, and this upcoming game is senior day, and with the transfer portal and with COVID, sometimes it's hard to tell, who has eligibility left, who is a senior, everything like that. Who are some of the senior players on the team you feel like you're sharing this, final regular season or senior day game with?
Oh man, I don't know who's all out of eligibility because of COVID once again. That's like, there's so many guys that got an extra year from that. I know for sure a couple of me in the 6 years of them, like Jack Sullivan and then Jarrett Kingston. So I know we're gonna be in tears. I think the only one left from my class here is Solomon Tuliapupu, and I love that kid. He's like a brother to me. I wish he's luckily got a couple more years.
Yeah.
I sadly wish we could finish together. But yeah, I'm not sure who's all planning on being done after this year. You don't really talk about that stuff because you just try to focus week by week on the game plan. I'm always one I believe in like bad luck, bad karma kind of thing too, to where if I start talking ahead of the future, I feel like I'm dissing myself in the present. So I was trying to take it game by game, but I know me, a couple of 6 years, it's our last one for sure. Coach Riley's made mention of it all week, so Grandpa's going out now this week.
Obviously the season didn't go as planned, dropping 4 of the last 5 games, but it seems like team morale hasn't suffered. It seems like the effort is there, just kind of falling short against some of the better teams that were on the schedule. Have you felt that? Have you felt like the guys are still trying hard, and it's not like people are giving up? It's just kind of putting effort in and just falling short.
Yeah, it's one of those things that it's not like we've fallen short by just getting outbeat, out-talented, whatever it may be. It's more of us just making our own mistakes. So morale's still high because we know there's stuff we can improve. We know that we can be better. It is a young team compared to last year, in my opinion. And so some guys haven't been in these kind of close games with these top matchups. So being able to pull through is extremely tough. And now, a bunch of these guys have that experience to where they get in these big matchups and, they know the 3 or 4 plays it takes to make the difference. So I'm excited for this program in the future. Great group of young guys, great freshman class that came in this 2023 year. And yeah, it didn't go as planned, but man, it's fuel for the fire for this next season. And I think this team's going to respond super well. I'm excited to watch them in the future.
Lincoln mentioned how important the group of seniors was last year. Some of the guys that left, obviously on the line you had Brett and Bobby and Andrew. How important was that group not only for you, but you feel like for building the culture of the program that you think is going to continue on after you leave?
Yeah, those guys we're just some of us stuck through SC our whole time, so we got to see kind of the Pete Carroll culture and all that, and carry on those kinds of traditions. And I don't even know how far those went back. All I know is it kind of stemmed from Pete Carroll. It could be longer, but it's cool because we were able to kind of instill some of these last 2 years into this team, and so a piece of USC doesn't feel like it's faded away, in a sense. Obviously, new traditions, new things come about with a new staff, but it's just cool seeing a clash of old and new, and I think it's kind of just the cornerstone of the program and trying to build the culture up. Then obviously, like, the transfer guys, they're a huge part of who we are as Trojans. We're kind of this new era Trojan where it's like we come from different places, but when we come play as Trojans, we're one together trying to win this thing. So it's been interesting. Like I said, it's been interesting being here for 6 years because in the past, without the transfer portal, without all of that, we didn't have transfer guys. You kind of had the guys you came in with, and then a couple guys would fall off, but you would most of those guys would finish with each other, and now it's kind of like you never know who you're going to finish with. But I think it's just important that kind of the Trojan legacy gets passed down from each class, and I think we've done a successful job of doing that.
Last week, I want to mention this because it seemed like this could have been a huge problem. The environment in Oregon, I wanted to get your comments on what that was like because, I was in the press box really high up. It seemed really loud, but it seems like you guys did a nice job of, handling, getting the snaps right and not having false starts and things like that. And then maybe touch on that injury. When I saw you come off the field, it did not look like it looked like you were in a lot of pain. And to be honest, I was kind of shocked, like, well, he's back in there. If you want to kind of touch on just the environment and sort of like what happened to you there.
Yeah. Well, it was definitely a loud environment, probably the loudest we've been at this year. Compared to last year, though, I thought Utah was louder.
Okay.
Anyways, it was a pretty loud environment, but once you got on the field in the middle, it wasn't too bad. Caleb's clap kind of pierced through all the noise, and I think just ultimately me not, flinching was just a product of me kind of finally being comfortable at the center position, being confident in myself. I think that's the biggest thing that's progressed in the last couple of weeks, is just being confident in my play. And so I think that's a huge thing. And then just, communication wasn't that bad. It was just when we lost, it was more of a technical error. And that's what you expect, though, communication not to be an issue week 11 at an away game. And so I'm proud of my guys in that sense. And then thankful to Coach Riley because every practice we have crowd noise and it's blaring like 3 speakers right in our ears. So he's done a good job in prepping us. And then as far as my injury, I don't know if I'm allowed to disclose.
Oh, well, if you can't, no big deal. But
yeah, I don't really care. I don't know if Katie will get mad at me. But I got this gnarly stinger, and my whole arm went numb all the way to my fingertips.
Whoa!
And then something else happened. I don't know if I'm allowed to say or not, but I don't know what. But yeah, it was
you're a senior. Who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. My arm went dead. It was just dead. Like, shoulder came out. Everything went wrong in that one play. And then I just told him, put me in a horse collar and send me back out there because I needed to go play in this game. But yeah, once I got the feeling back in my fingertips, I knew I was okay. I just, for a solid 5 minutes, couldn't feel a thing. So luckily it came back. But yeah, it's just part of football. It's part of playing no line. You're gonna get your bell rung a little bit.
Wow.
You're gonna get stingers. Stingers are the worst part of football. I'll tell you that.
Probably not easy to snap a football without being able to feel your fingers. It's just a random guess that I'd have. Is that right?
It was luckily my non-snap hand.
Oh, there you go. Oh, then it's easy. You're good then.
It just hangs. It just hangs there. Yeah.
You just got to find a way to one-arm block Oregon's defensive line. Well, yeah. So Justin, we mentioned that there'd be some questions in the chat. I think we've got one right now that we can ask before we let you get going a little bit. We got one question from YouTube that says, "Fight on, Justin. What is your pump-up pregame song?"
Oh man, it changes week by week. I'm weird. Like sometimes I'm into hip hop, sometimes I'm into country, sometimes I'm into like EDM. I don't. My brain's a weird thing because like if a song worked for me one week, it won't work the next week. I have to switch it up. So this last week, I was into rock, and what song was I playing? I was playing it on repeat, man. Oh, Savior. I forget by who. It's like, it kills me not to know this, but I've almost just forgotten. Anyways, so I kept playing that song. But yeah, it's week by week. I don't know if that answers it. Well.
Yeah, that's good. If you guys are in the YouTube chat, make sure to leave some questions that, kind of get these in last minute. I guess I'll branch off of that. Who do you feel on the team has some of the best music taste? And if you have to give a worst, whose music taste is maybe the least like yours?
I would say Bear Alexander's the least like mine. He's always out there. He's always out there pre-practice playing his music. And like today we're like playing like Bob Marley and some happy music, and he comes and changes it to I don't even know who, and we're like, Bear, put back on the happy music. It's just funny because he's always like he always thinks he's like all-time DJ. And then most similar, probably Jonah Monheim. Me and him have some great music sessions. He teaches me some new songs because he's pretty in tune with all that. I'm like an old head. I just kind of like listen to what I know, and then Jonah has to introduce me to these new songs.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Well, speaking of Jonah, you guys have played together a long time. Obviously, he's a veteran to this rivalry as well. What has it meant to you to be with Jonah for so long here at USC, and be able to play on the same line, really strongly for the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's been awesome because I've get to see him grow from a freshman to the player he is now. I always knew, he was going to be a spectacular player ever since he came in day one. Just the maturity and honestly, just his leadership levels have grown tremendously the last couple of years. He's just someone you can count on. He always gets his job done. Most consistent guy in technique in the room. Whatever Coach Henson says, he loves to apply it to his game. And it's just always awesome to watch him. We talk about something in the meeting room, and then he's the guy out there that's the first to apply it to like the play he gets the opportunity. So he's just a super smart, in-tune guy. It's been an honor to play with him these last couple of years, and I'm really gonna miss it. It's kind of the last of that O-line from last year, so just special brotherhood with him. He's been there for 4 years with us.
We've got one more question here in the chat from a fan. Earl Burwell on YouTube says, "Who's the best prankster on the team?"
The best prankster. Oh man. Who's the best prankster? I don't know.
It could be, maybe it's not pranks, but just, big jokester.
Yeah. There's a lot of characters on our team. Eric Gentry, Austin Jones, Cooper Lovelace, big character on our team. Gosh, I love that kid. He's an interesting cat. You just got all these guys across the team that are really funny. I'm trying to think individually of pranks though. We're pretty good at it. We got a lot of sarcasm on the team, I'll say. Pranks were more last year. Travis Dye and Bobby Haskins are notorious for that. They would tape people's helmets and stuff. They would tape each other's helmets, do all this stuff to each other. It was hilarious.
Awesome.
That's pretty awesome. Well, I've got one question for you, Justin, before we let you go and get ready for the game on Saturday. Obviously, this will be your last game in the Coliseum. Last game in front of a big group of USC fans. So I'm just curious. Same question was asked to Caleb yesterday, but how do you want USC fans to remember you?
Oh, man, I'm just a Trojan for life. Stuck through the good and the bad. Never gave up on this place, and then fans never gave up on me. So, just thankful for that. Just thankful for all the friendly faces. People always supporting me. So just someone that stuck through it all and gave everything he had for this place, and I have no regrets about my career here. And so hopefully that's kind of my legacy, and I look forward to meeting all these Trojan fans when I'm out of here, wherever, probably across the country somewhere, or who knows where I'm going to be. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you coming in, Justin. So is the plan do the NFL Combine and try to play it at the next level? Is that the kind of plan right now?
Yep. Gonna see what happens. Yeah, I do plan on taking this next year to train for the NFL. Super excited to get to work and get that opportunity. And just see how it plays out.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming in and experimenting with us. We've not done the sort of player/preview show, so it worked out well. We got a little noise, but that's fine. We'll do it. But we appreciate you coming in.
I'm so sorry.
No worries at all.
You are fine. And we just wish you the best of luck this weekend. I know you guys are going to go out there and give it your all there. But thanks again for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. Hopefully no one walking by said something crazy.
No, you were all good. Just the helicopter, I guess. But yeah, thank you so much, Justin.
Yeah, I muted that. So.
Yes, good job. So we're going to take a break here on Tunnel Vision. On the back half of the show, Ryan and I will kind of break down the X's and O's heading into the game on Saturday. But yes, thank you again so much, Justin. And we will take a quick break here on Tunnel Vision and come back in a bit. All right, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the interview that we got to do with Justin. It was great to talk to who has been one of the USC's kind of biggest veteran leaders, Ryan, and obviously the starting center this year. So learned a lot, pranksters on the team as well as music taste and everything like that, and the fact that his shoulder popped out and he couldn't feel his arm. That's a lot of good information there. But now we can get into the preview for USC and UCLA.
Yeah, and it was good to talk to Justin, and thank you for hanging with us. There was not only just the first time we brought him on for the Reign television show. First time we've had a player live. We've always recorded it. They're mostly recorded live, so it's not like you're making a lot of changes or anything. But yeah, that was live, and obviously he was sort of on the move a little bit. But we got to squeeze these guys in. It's busy. They're getting ready for the game. So thanks to Justin. It's great to get a veteran. I don't know how many players have played in the USC UCLA game 6 times. So that'll be your 6 times through. So that's going to be kind of interesting to see that. But yeah, it's good to hear from him. I was wondering about the injury because, and we don't really hear much about the injuries now unless what we hear from Lincoln Riley. But it didn't look good. I don't know where you were, Jack, but just seeing him coming off the field, I think I had my binoculars and I'm like, okay, this does not look good. But the fact that he couldn't feel his arm down to his fingers, shoulder popping out, holy cow, that's pretty bad. So.
Yeah. I was not expecting him to come back in the game, let alone it was the next series that he was back in, and then he played well for the rest of the game. He was mentioning how he, obviously that was one of the games he felt most comfortable in at center this year. Where I don't think I could have any slight bit of injury and take it very well, and that just kind of shows you the type of warrior that Justin Dedich has been for USC. He has played through many an injury. I think it was earlier this season too. Just the way he was walking around, it was clear that he was not fully healthy, but doesn't miss games, tries to miss as few snaps as possible. And I think, he summed it up best that what he said as a freshman that he wanted to do in his career, he's done to a T, which is just compete to the best of his ability and grind it out. I don't think there's a bigger example of a player grinding it out than what Justin Dedich has done this season as well as the past couple of years for USC.
For sure. And then Jermaine Johnson in the chat I think he had a question about the away game atmosphere. Sorry, we didn't get to that.
That came
one.
up. Yeah, sorry. That came up like right as we were letting him go. So I was looking at the screen, did not see that one.
Sorry
so
about that one, but yeah, we can I can save that one for the next time we do a player interview because that's good. I like to hear what they, sometimes when the players are pulling up in the bus and it's just like loud, or if there's fans there throwing things at the bus, sometimes you have stuff like that. So that's it's always kind of interesting. He did say, as far as road environments going, last year Utah was the toughest. We had heard people say Oregon State, last year, even though it was half a stadium, that one was really loud too. But that was definitely, that place was rocking up there in Eugene. So it was loud. And but I thought the offensive line handled that aspect pretty well. So that's, that could have been a problem too. And things would have been even worse. So it wasn't good, but at least the offensive line didn't have the pre-snap penalties that you could have in a crazy environment like that.
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, and I thought USC was more disciplined than Oregon was, which is, I think, one of the few things that they did better than Oregon, and probably one of the things that Oregon did poorly that kept USC in the game. They had at least 12 penalties. I think it was 115 yards against Oregon, which just, that was surprising to see for that program. And the fact that USC's normally been the team that has struggled with penalties, whether that's pre-snap or after the play, procedural penalties or holding penalties that take off big plays, that's something that's normally hampered USC this season. So they were kind of on the winning end of that side in the penalty battle. Oregon, I think, played better in many other facets of the game, but I thought it was good to see USC as the more disciplined team when they were on the road in what is the most hostile environment they played. Because I remember coming out of the Arizona State game, worried after that one, if they looked like this in Arizona State, what's it going to be like in Autzen? What's it going to be like at Notre Dame? And I thought they fixed that really quickly, which is one of the things that they've maybe done a good job improving in the season.
Yeah, and I think the offense is really good. Obviously, they've had they're going to have some mistakes, but it's really good. They had a rough go at it pre-snap against Arizona State, and they fixed it right away, like you mentioned. There was another, next time you get in a tough environment, nope, that's not going to be a problem anymore. You go to Oregon, nope, it's not going to be a problem anymore. And I think we wanted to see some of that stuff on the defensive side. It was just here's a problem. Okay, we're going to address it and fix it. Those problems were happening from the beginning of the season. Fans were pointing them out, and it just nothing got fixed, and that's why you're going in another direction with a defensive coordinator. But it's just still kind of baffling to me, Jack, that wasn't fixed. Where you saw offensive problems, boom, you get fixed right away. And nothing's perfect, but that was a glaring issue. What is going on pre-snap? Okay, let's make the call simpler. Let's call the play, get it in. Whatever you're doing, they saw the problem, fixed it. You've seen these problems on the defensive side, and a lot of them look like they're fixable. And they just hadn't done it, which is just kind of baffling to me. It's you've had all this time. You have to be able to do something a little bit differently. And it seems like they just kept out doing the same thing and maybe screwing up in different ways. But, 1 week it's a passing team that runs all over you. And then another week it's a team that doesn't have a bunch of explosive plays, go for, million yards passing. It just seems like that stuff was happening over and over again. They would never address I'm sure they addressed it, but they just weren't able to fix it like the offense did when there was a glaring issue.
Yeah, I mean, not to make disparaging remarks or anything like that, but I think that just does show you've got really elite coaching on the offensive side. Lincoln Riley is an excellent offensive coach. You weren't sure whether Alex Grinch was an excellent defensive coach. I think it proved as the season went on that, at the very least, he was not up to the same level that Lincoln Riley was as an offensive coach. And, that's why you look and you're like, okay, USC might not have great quarterback play the next year. Maybe they don't have Caleb Williams level quarterback play next year. Lincoln Riley has made offense work every year of his career. I don't think you should be too worried about that going into next season if you're a USC fan, because they have been able to fix some of these things midseason. The question was, coming into this year, can they make those changes on the defensive side? And, I just think point blank, it's the difference between what is going to be good coaching on the offensive side versus what you weren't sure what you were going to get coaching-wise on the defensive side. And clearly Lincoln Riley realized that they weren't making enough good changes when it came to the defensive coaches, and he decided to let Alex Grinch go at that point of the season. But I think that is probably, why you see the difference there between offense and defense. And, it's hard to be as good of a defensive coach, I'm sure, as Lincoln Riley is as an offensive coach, but that is just something I think that we have seen this year.
For sure. And, I think it was the Sunday tunnel vision when we were kind of going through, and I just realized, like, holy cow, USC's lost 4 of their last 5 games. Like, it didn't even dawn on me like that had happened. UCLA scored 17 points in the last 2 weeks. Really bad loss to Arizona State. Bro reporting that it's very likely that Chip Kelly is going to be fired after this game sometime. So you got UCLA kind of circling the drain. USC, effort's still there. Like, morale I don't think is bad. And I asked Dedich about that, but they've been losing. UCLA's offense was really bad last week with Colin Schlee, in there at quarterback. They just couldn't really do much of anything, only scoring 7 points against Arizona State. And then USC's defense obviously giving up whatever anybody wants on the other side of the ball. So this isn't like playing Iowa, but the way UCLA is playing, it's like similar. So that'll be kind of an interesting battle to watch. Like, which bad unit does better, the USC defense or the UCLA offense? And then offensively for USC, this is going to be one of the best defenses they face. Great pass rush. The USC offensive line struggled last week. How do they perform? So it's going to be interesting, kind of, strength on strength and weakness on weakness in this game. But, I've done some radio today, and, people are just talking. It's just not getting the buzz. Even in the chat, people are just sort of like, yeah, whatever. It's still important. I would say this is still an important game. You want that victory bell, next season when they're playing LSU in Las Vegas. You'd love to see the Trojan Knights have that victory bell banging away instead of it being gone. You want it painted cardinal and gold. This still means something, and I think for Justin, him saying at the end about, getting a win against UCLA, he's 3-2 against them, would love to have a winning record, ending the season on as high a note as possible. It's tough to bounce back when you're number 5 in the country, and now you've lost 4 of your last 5 games. That doesn't compute. But you can do that, and you can get a bowl. And he said they haven't done a ring. Like, they haven't got that end of the season win where you're going on some kind of high note. So I know some USC fans are apathetic about this, and that's fine. You're totally right to. But I still think there's a lot to play for, getting a better bowl game and everything. So we'll see. I'm curious to see what the environment's going to be like when we get to the Coliseum on Saturday, and then if they can come out and play well. Because I think if USC comes out and plays well, they'll beat UCLA. There's a good chance that UCLA is just sort of like out of this, especially if they know their head coach is on the way out, or could be galvanizing and everyone sort of plays well. So I think there's still some interesting storylines here, but the shine is certainly off of the game that maybe several weeks back when both teams were ranked, you might have been circling it, and now you're really not. It's not nationally relevant. It's not relevant in the Pac-12 race, which if you'd have told us that like a month ago, that would have been kind of surprising.
Yeah, USC fans want USC to be up on par with some of the best programs in the country. You're looking at Georgia, Alabama, all of these great schools. I think Oregon is trending towards that point from what we saw last week. If you're going to be a program like that, these games have to matter. Like, every game has to matter. Even when you're 7-4 and you've got a chance to play against your rivals, like, there should be no question about whether a game matters or not. I don't think the team, I think we have seen that. I don't think the team is checking out at all. Even in the last 4 losses in the last 5 games, like, they've been fighting hard in every single one. But I also think it comes to the fan base. Like, the elite programs in college football have elite fan bases as well, that they are there even in a 7-4 season. They're never questioning whether the game matters or not, because the support sometimes leads to success. And I think you've seen that's a struggle area for UCLA, at least, where they have not been getting a ton of support as a program. And so you've seen what we talked about with House of Victory earlier in the show about everyone showing up and donating this week to help House of Victory towards the goal. I think that's a good sign for this USC football program, because if you want to bring this program to the level that I think you want your expectations are at, and your desires are at, if you're a USC fan, like, that means showing up to the UCLA rivalry game even when the team is 7-4. Because if you show up when they're 7-4, they know that you've got their back, everything like that. So I don't think you can ever say like, well, this game doesn't matter. I'm checked out. They're 7-4. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to watch. I'm not going to care. because that's just not how the best college football programs in the country are run. So I think it's, we can talk about the players as much as we want. I don't think there's any check out there. I think same thing applies for the fans. So I've been surprised to see that USC fans are saying, I don't really care about this week because they're 7-4. Like, it's UCLA rivalry game.
Yeah, you got to get up to it. And USC fans go to the Rose Bowl a lot. UCLA fans don't come to the Coliseum quite as much. So
they don't go to the Rose Bowl much either. So
fair enough. For this game, they do. But I'm curious to see what the environment is. It's a 12:30 kickoff, so you got early tailgating. I mean, I was texting with someone today that told me they were planning on going, and then they're like, it's an early game. There's probably going to be some of that, So we'll see. I'm going to stop by the House of Victory tailgate beforehand, so if you're going to be there, come say hi. So I don't know if they're going to do like breakfast food.
I was going to say like breakfast burritos,
that
breakfast
would be
something.
Great. But whatever the Rex does over there.
I don't think they'll make steaks at 9 a.m.
Probably not, but we'll see. Yeah, it's good stuff over there. But yeah, hopefully you guys can enjoy it. Like college football, think of it's in May or June or something. You're like, man, I wish college football was here. You got it here. You get a little break for Thanksgiving. You don't have to you can watch football on TV. You don't have to go anywhere. Show up on Saturday. I think you can come out. This is the last time you get to come to the Coliseum for quite a while. Come out there and check it out. It's going to be a fun time. I think USC is going to get the win. We'll see. But I would, I know you're upset. I know you're frustrated. But there's a really short window every year of when you can get college football. So don't miss it. This is the last one you can get.
Yeah, and we just talked for half an hour with Justin Dedich. The fans clearly, obviously, like Justin Dedich. If you're not going to the bowl game, this is your last chance to see a guy like him play, or some of these other guys that he mentioned, maybe a Jonah Monheim. This could be your last chance ever watching Caleb Williams if you're not willing to go, to San Antonio for the Alamo Bowl, or you're not willing to go to Vegas or to San Diego. Like, you might not ever see Caleb Williams put a Trojan uniform on again. And, he talked yesterday about a decision about a bowl game and sidestepped it saying, well, if he decides to go to the NFL, then he'll decide about the bowl game. So he's kind of basically getting out of that one by saying, well, he still hasn't decided whether he's going to declare or not. I think Chris and I have talked about it. Connor and I have talked about it. I don't see Caleb Williams playing in a bowl if it's, the Alamo Bowl or the Las Vegas Bowl. I really don't see him coming back next year. So most likely this is the last chance that Caleb Williams puts a USC helmet on for a game. So you want to go see that. And I think the point that you made is perfect, where we're going to be sitting there in the middle of the summer saying, oh, college football. I wish we had college football back. And it applies to us too. We had practice yesterday. It was raining. And I was like, oh, there have been so many practices this year. I think we were going on like week 14 or something like that. And you throw in fall camp and it's even longer. But then you realize at some point in the summer, I'm going to be wishing there was football practice instead of sitting around doing nothing, podcasting about, a potential transfer, something like that. So just enjoy the games while they're there, especially the rivalry games, because they only come around once a year. Whoever wins gets to have the bragging rights for an entire, basically 365 days. So you want to be able to see that game. I think this game, we haven't talked much about the intricacies of what's going to go on the football field because, I think it doesn't matter quite as much, given everything we're talking about. The themes are big, and then the intricacies on the football field will play themselves out. But I think that there are a couple big things that define the game. You mentioned it as strength on strength, which is USC's offense versus UCLA's defense, and then the weaknesses versus weakness, which is USC's defense, UCLA's offense. And there was a stat I was digging into earlier this week doing some research where UCLA quarterbacks, and there have basically been 3 or 4 of them this season, are averaging 228 yards on 56% completion percentage, averaging 1.7 touchdowns and 1.2 interceptions per game all of this season. The USC defense is allowing opposing quarterbacks 264 yards, 63% completion percentage, 2.5 touchdowns to 0.6 interceptions per game. So that's that weakness on weakness level. So I guess we can start there. Which weakness do you think is worse, and which weakness will be the slighter strength in that matchup? Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, I guess if you get I guess Garbers might be coming back in this game. So
looks like it's going to be Garbers.
Yeah, he didn't look well. Schlee looked pretty terrible. He can't really throw the ball. And Chip Kelly tried to throw the ball a lot with him instead of just running the ball all the time. But if Garbers comes back, I think they'll have a little boost there on the offensive side. It won't be as bad as we've seen the last couple of weeks. But man, if you're looking at an opportunity, this is what you want. And I think 3 weeks. I think RJ put this out. 3 weeks in a row, the USC, whoever's played USC, has had the Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Week. So basically you're playing the USC defense. It gives you an opportunity to have a monster game and be the best player in the conference on offense that week. You can't allow something like that to UCLA. Just your goal should be keep UCLA around their average of everything. And if you can do that, if you can keep them to about their average, you will win the game. Like, no questions asked. But can you do that? Or are you going to allow Garbers to throw for 310 yards and 3 touchdowns? And are you going to allow UCLA running backs run for 240 and a couple of touchdowns? Like, if you do, like, you're probably going to lose the game. So it's really just kind of like, don't let them punch way above their weight. And my gut is that, USC is going to allow like maybe above average UCLA offense, but not like ridiculously above average. But during the year, it's been more ridiculously above average.
Like, it's been like everyone has done the same thing. Like, even the bad offenses have done the same as the Washington and Oregon offenses. It's just like casual 500 yards, 5 touchdowns through the air, 2 on the ground, and there's the game.
There's only so many points you can score. Like, you have every time you get a drive, you can score up to 8 points. And Washington got close to that. They scored over 5 points every time they touched the ball. Sometimes you look at the total number and you're like, oh, well, Oregon only scored 36, but they had 8 drives and they scored on 6 of them, right? I mean, and they had a couple kneel downs.
One was a missed field goal.
Yeah, one was a missed field goal. So it was like you scored on just about every drive you've had the ball, and you can't let UCLA do that. They're not scoring on the majority of their drives. If you let them score on the majority of their drives, like, you're probably going to lose the game. So I think for the defense, I don't feel confident, but I feel like my gut would be they're going to have an okay effort that's going to keep UCLA, maybe a little above their average, but not going ridiculous. It's just every week someone goes ridiculous. So all you have to do is just not let UCLA's offense that's been bad go ridiculous. So I'm going to give the edge to the USC defense, but not feel great about it.
Yeah, I mean, even when UCLA has scored, they've taken a lot of labor, it's taken a lot of plays, they have to work really hard. And, this is a team that's coming off of what's maybe the worst loss in the conference this year. They lost at the Rose Bowl by double digits to Arizona State using a swinging gate formation. I think Arizona State came into the week with 1 FBS win.
Yes.
And they went into the Rose Bowl, won by double digits. It was 17-7. So I think that tells you, like, obviously we know the Arizona State defense is good. They hit on their defense coordinator this season, just like UCLA did, like USC, didn't opt to. But 7 points. You need to score more than 7 points against Arizona State, especially when Chip Kelly's the head coach. He's an offensive guy. He's supposed to be an offensive guru, and they knew what their quarterback situation was going to be. Of course, they recruited Dante Moore, who likely will be the backup this week. Had some flashes earlier in the season, but just way too many turnovers. So they brought in him. They brought in Colin Schlee from the transfer portal. Like, they knew what they were getting into quarterback-wise, and they've got their ways of recruiting there at UCLA. But if you're an offensive guru like Chip Kelly is supposed to be, you have to score more points in the entire season. You have to score more than 7 points against Arizona State, and you can't waste what is a really, really good defense that we've got to talk about as well. Because last season it was all offense, no defense. That's the reason that they lost at the end of the season to USC. And they went out, they hired D'Anton Lynn, who's the son of Anthony Lynn, former Chargers head coach. It's the best defense in the Pac-12, and it's going to go to waste, surprisingly, because there's no offense at UCLA.
I know it is bizarre, like, sort of how that all ends up playing out, but it's a good sign that UCLA's defense was bad. They hire someone that's good to coach defense, and the defense is good. So, boom. Now, I think it helps the defense to be better when the offense stinks. I mean, it does. That does go. If you have a really great offense, it's harder to play great defense.
The Iowa level defense.
It's hard because you're on the field more, because there's more points being scored, more opportunities, and all that. So I get it, but their defense is so much better than what it was last year, and that's like not a whole lot of personnel changes. That's more about making a coaching hire. So that's kudos to Chip Kelly and UCLA for doing that, and you hope that USC can do the same thing. It's not like you have to wait 2 years for the defense. That's a microwave thing. Like, that's like put it in the microwave, boom, new coach. Okay, this is good. We're good to go. The meal is ready, and you can have a good defense kind of right away. So I think that's a positive sign. And Justin Dedich talked about it. Like, they struggled as an offensive line against Notre Dame, and they had some struggles against Oregon. Even though the pre-snap stuff wasn't there, they had a lot of problems giving up pressures and things like that. UCLA is very, very good at creating those pressures. And, we've seen Caleb Williams do some amazing things when he gets pressured, but there's just sometimes you're just not going to be able to get out of it. You could have a sack fumble, whatever it is. Things like that could happen. But I feel like this is a real opportunity for Caleb Williams. You're going to play a tough defense, but maybe not have as much pressure on you like when you play Washington or you play Oregon or even when you played Cal and Cal was scoring every time. This is just an opportunity that maybe you don't have to score every time, and you can be a little patient. Sometimes patience isn't there because there's pressure to score, so maybe just dump it off or throw the ball out of bounds instead of going, I need to go make a play, and that ends up being a negative play or a turnover or something. So we'll see. I'm curious to see how that kind of plays out. I love UCLA's defense. I think they're playing really well, but when USC brings its A game on offense, I don't think anybody's going to really stop them. And you got Caleb Williams, the best player in college football, so that's definitely going to be a fun one to watch. But maybe it helps that there's a little less pressure on Caleb to score every time he touches the ball.
Yeah, I agree. And we've talked about maybe it's his last game in Cardinal and Gold. He probably knows. It's also going to be his birthday, which that'll be pretty fun. I'm sure he'll get up a little bit extra. Chris and I were doing research on this yesterday to talk with Caleb about it. The last time he played on his birthday, I don't know if you've heard about the Hail Mary he threw in high school. Sophomore year, Gonzaga against DeMatha. It was the championship game of the league. Caleb on one side, Marshawn Lloyd on the other. 3 touchdowns in the final 29 seconds, 3 lead changes, and Caleb Williams wins the game with a 53-yard Hail Mary at the last second as a sophomore. That was the last time he played on his birthday in a rivalry game. So not, maybe that's a little bit of a foreshadowing for what could happen for the game on Saturday. But that's all to say, I think Caleb Williams is going to bring his A game just because he knows that the season hasn't gone the way he wanted it to. This is maybe the last game of his collegiate career. It comes on his birthday. It's just a perfect storm. He loves rivalry games. I trust the USC offense to go out there and score against this UCLA defense, because they also did it last week in a bunch of big scenarios against Oregon as well, which is also a really good defense. So I think if you're UCLA, you definitely feel like the underdog in the game, just because even though the defense is your strength, like having a defense be your strength and knowing you still need to go out there and stop Caleb Williams and then finding a way to score, even though it is USC's defense on the other side with your offense, I think USC, it's fair to be favored in this game. I think USC fans should feel pretty confident that USC can win, but they have to come out and play well, which has obviously, been the defining factor of the season, is that when they've needed to, they have not been able to make that play to win the game. So we'll see if it comes down to that. I think it'll be a close one again, but I think you should feel good if you're a USC fan in this rivalry one.
Yeah, and watch on the special teams aspect too. I think it was listening to Raina Troy, and I need to check SP Plus a little bit more often, but apparently USC is ranked 133rd out of 133 FBS teams in special teams. Something I harp on all the time and I talk about. So
it's your favorite.
I feel like Lincoln Riley needs to. I'm not saying go hire a special teams coordinator, but you need to change the organization of your special teams. It's just not working. Like, you need to do something different there. It's really bad, and you get a couple big plays every once in a while, but it's been bad. UCLA's I don't think is very good either. They're not very good at kicking field goals.
They're 50% on field goal.
Yeah, that's not good. So it's that'll be something to watch too, especially if it's not as high scoring of a game. Then the field position matters a bunch. I mean, Oregon had 4 drives that went over 80 yards in the game. So field position didn't really matter for the defense, because even when you got them pinned back a little bit, Oregon started 1 drive on their 1. And they only got a field goal out of it, but it was an 84-yard drive or something like that.
Helped that they got a fumble in the end zone that they kicked forward for a 3-yard gain, as Lincoln Riley called it on Trojans Live. I think it was more like 1 or 2 yards, but still, just the way that the ball bounced. And Lincoln Riley can say all he wants that they're a couple snaps away from being 10-1. I don't think you can look at it like that, but I think you look at it as, yes, football is a game of inches. Football is a game of, one bounce one way. It's a game of a couple snaps sometimes. USC last season was on the winning end of a lot of those kind of games. Those razor-thin margins, need that last play to win it. Like UCLA example, with Corey Foreman getting that interception. They made the plays to win. Sometimes luck was on their side. This season, sometimes luck has been not on their side. Sometimes it's been self-inflicted where they haven't made the plays. And that's the difference between going to the Pac-12 championship, being on the doorstep of the college football playoff, only having 1 regular season loss to this season. You're at 4. could be a lot worse. You could have lost to Cal. You could have lost to Arizona. Could have lost to Colorado if they get one different bounce on an onside kick. So it's been a season of a lot of close games, and unlike last season, USC has come out on the losing end of a handful of them.
Yeah, and I don't. Yeah, that doesn't sit great with me when they say things like that, because like the 4 best teams you played, those are the teams you lost to. So it's not like, oh, one of the like. There's similar things happening in all of them.
Yes.
So those are things you could correct, and it's not just like, oh, bounce this way. You basically could have lost a bunch of the mediocre teams. Now, Arizona ended up being pretty good, but certainly triple overtime could have lost that one. Cal, 2-point conversion, batted away, like certainly could have lost that one. They're not a very good team. But the 4 really good teams that you've played, you've lost all of them. A couple of them, where it wasn't super close. And then, well, I mean, I guess 3 of them were, multi-score games. So it's not like...
it feels closer than the, Washington ended up being a
Oregon
10-point win. Oregon was a 9.
There's no way that was not a 9-point game.
No.
Like that was like... But it was, like that's technically what it was. But it didn't feel like that at all. So those don't feel like you're a couple snaps away. That feels like you had some fundamental flaws going into those games. And if you played them 5 times, you're probably losing 4 of them, which that's not where you want to be. You weren't like this close. Like you could have won, but if you played that whole, you play it out 10 times, like you're not winning like 7 of them. That's kind of where you want to be,
Yeah, and Shotgun said it best, I think, on the Helium Boys podcast this week, is like, yes, it's true you've lost a lot of close games, still lost 4 games. Like at some point someone has to come out and say, it's unacceptable, this isn't going to happen again, we are going to make big changes because we're not going to be in this position again. Maybe that happens after the season where, Lincoln Riley comes up and he's like, yeah, we had some close games, but that's unacceptable, we need to be better. I feel like we haven't heard a lot of that, which is like, maybe you can have every once in a while your 1 or 2 snaps away comments. If after other games like Notre Dame, where you get blown out, you say, that's unacceptable, we are going to turn the ship around, and then do it. Then you earn yourself a little, goodwill to say stuff like that after close losses. But when it's close loss, you're never coming out on the winning side, really, against good teams too. Like then you don't really, like, fans aren't going to want to hear you say that. They're going to want to hear you say, this is unacceptable, we need to turn the ship around. So, we've said the same thing basically since the bye week after basically every game. Started with Arizona State, it was too close. Then it was Colorado, it was way too close at the end. It's been the same message for a long time, and this is the last regular season game, so maybe we'll be saying the same thing after this one, or maybe we'll be saying, hey, they got that one play and they ended up winning the game. Either way, I think it's close. I don't really see UCLA blowing USC out. I think there is a world where you're able to make some good defensive changes and USC can win by a couple scores, but in all likelihood, I think this is a 1-score game.
Yeah, I'm picking USC to cover this one. USC is -6, so I think I hadn't picked USC to cover for a while. They did cover against Oregon, but I don't think they played like they should have. That was just more of like the circumstance of the game. But I think UCLA is reeling enough that I would pick the Trojans to cover this one, win by like 7 or 10, something like that. That's kind of where I'm thinking this one goes.
Yeah, I'm in the running for first place in our staff pick, so I'm not going to reveal it in case someone, because Chris last week kind of cheated a little bit, and he just picked against the grain because he knew who everyone was picking. He didn't actually believe in it, so I'm going to save that for when the article comes out. It's also a plug. Go out, uscfootball.com. I think it'll be either tomorrow or Saturday where the staff picks will come out. But I think the last thing that we've got to talk about, and then we can kind of wrap it up, quick thoughts.
We got some questions, I think.
I think we got a couple. We'll go to those first. Cubex28 says, wonder who is running the team out of the tunnel this week. I don't know if you've seen it, Ryan, but it's going to be former USC wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster running the team out of the tunnel.
Very cool. Yeah, the Pats must be on a bye this week
I would assume so, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Marquise Lee coming out was cool. It's great to see the former Trojans that we've covered from high school and everything coming out there. So very cool that Juju Smith-Schuster will be out there.
Eric Hyde says, Ryan, if you were USC's athletic director for a week and could make any changes that you saw fit, including choosing the next defense coordinator, what would you do? He says, your buddy, Sir Eric of Troy.
Hey, thanks, Sir Eric. I like what Jen Cohen's doing so far. She just kind of got started, but I would definitely be going, for me, I'm going all in on Jim Leonard and some sort of whatever package I need to kind of put together. That would be like my top, we need this guy, get him in here. And that would be like my kind of focus, I guess you could say, going after Jim Leonard.
Yeah, I think you've made some good decisions as well, where they're moving up the facilities being built. That was a big decision that they needed to make. So there have been some good ones. Sad to see it demolishing Dado Field, which has already started now, and they're moving the baseball program off site. But I think you needed to do that for the football program. That's going to be a big deal. We saw it with the rain yesterday. The field got messed up. There's nowhere really indoor for them to fully practice, and maybe at some point you're going to need that for the Big Ten. So I think it's good to have the facilities going on. That would have been the only other decision that I would have made if I was the athletic director. Kind of same answer to this question, but Beck Stein says one top pick for DC, Ryan. Jim Leonard, is that the guy you're putting all eggs in the basket?
Yeah, he's the one that I want to have him say no first. There was all those years of Urban Meyer, he'd be okay, but I think Jim Leonard probably wants to be a head coach. He was in the running for the Wisconsin job. But man, I think just the opportunity, it would be such a big stage if everyone knows how horrible USC's defenses have been for a couple years. And you come in, the offense is going to be great. You're going to be nationally relevant. Going back in the Big Ten, you get an opportunity to play in Wisconsin again. I just think there's some things you could sell there that's all right, I'll come in for 2 years and make this an elite defense and then get a big job somewhere else. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know, I don't know him personally. I haven't talked to any sources really close to him or anything, but that would just be the one. On paper, you could get him right away. There's just so many good things about Jim Leonard. That's my focus.
That's one more question from Beck as well, and it kind of branches off this one. Do you see a defensive coordinator needing to mesh with USC's offense, or does it really matter? They said it seems like Mike Leach students always have horrible defenses. So basically saying, Jim Leonard's defense or offense at Wisconsin is a lot different than the offense that Lincoln Riley runs at USC. So do you feel like for candidates like that, it matters, their offensive background or the offenses they've worked with?
I think it's one of those things where you can have a different style. Sometimes you want the defense and offense to sort of work together, but it's more about when you're scoring more points, it puts more pressure on a defense no matter what. Even if it's a great defense, now people are trying to throw the ball more. When it's a lower scoring game, they're usually called more conservatively and the defenses look better. So I think that's the bigger product of things. Whatever you're running, though, I think you have to practice together and you only have so many hours. And sometimes when you have this wide open spread offense, it's hard to run maybe a hard-nosed defense too. And so I think that's getting that to work in practice is one of the challenges. But we've seen people do it. I think that's something that you can achieve. And whoever comes in as a defensive coordinator, I think they're going to have demands on, we need these kind of periods for our defense to be successful in practice, so you have to work with the offense. I don't know. We don't get to watch. So if all the practice periods are sort of geared towards helping the offense, that doesn't do the defense any favor. So I think you have to have that kind of mix because you have to use those hours wisely because you only have so many. And you need hours to make sure the offense is going to be clicking because that's an elite unit. But if you want the defense to be better, they need their hours too. And so I think a strong defensive coordinator is going to come in and make their case for how much time they need and what they need to practice and all of that.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think the offense matters if they're willing to make practice adjustments. If you're not willing to make any adjustments to the way that you're practicing, if you're Lincoln Riley, don't just think you're going to have your choice of defensive coordinator. But if you're willing to give a little to get a little on the defensive side, then I don't think it's going to be a huge issue. And I think you can convince a lot of people that coming to coach at USC, coach in Los Angeles, some people want to do that, but defense coordinators might not want to if you're saying, well, you get 2 minutes here for this and that's it. You can have the crumbs that's left over from what we're going to do on offense. No one really wants to work in those situations. So those were the last of the questions. And so the one thing that I was going to ask you about to round out the show is all this news about Chip Kelly and his potential firing. Do you feel like that is a good decision for UCLA? Do you feel like that's something that will inevitably benefit them down the line, or do you feel like maybe it's a little bit harsh considering what UCLA has been in the past and what Chip Kelly has been able to do at UCLA?
Yeah, I'm friends with David Woods, and we do the podcast of Champions together. And if you follow his tweets, he kind of dunked on himself a little bit, tweeting back, I think 2017 when Chip Kelly was hired. Some of the stuff that he retweeted himself, it didn't turn out to be true. The facts are Chip Kelly's 33-33 as a head coach at UCLA, and that's not good enough, and you didn't bring him in because he's a high-level recruiter. They've done a nice job on the transfer portal, but I feel like the way college football is going with NIL and just recruiting game, he wasn't playing it before, and I think it makes it harder to play it now. I think going into the Big Ten, you'd rather just kind of make a change going forward if you're going to go in another direction instead of wasting a couple years and seeing where it's going. So if you feel like this isn't going the right direction, I get it. He had a slow sort of buildup. Like they should have been better in the first few years that he was there. Lincoln Riley came in a bad team and won 11 games. Now they took a step back a little bit, but it was a huge improvement, where Chip Kelly didn't win an out-of-conference game for like 3 years or 4 years or whatever. So that kind of stuff, I think sort of fans were a little bit upset from that. And then this was a year where the schedule wasn't very hard. They should have at least had a 9-game season. And, they're not going to get that unless they, win out and win a bowl game. So, yeah, I get it. I'm a little surprised that it's kind of happening this way, and I trust their reporting. I think that's probably the case. Now, some weird thing could happen if they crush USC and then beat Cal, and they end up like what were they 6-3 right now? Or
they're 6-4.
6-4, yeah. So they'd be like 8-4. Then maybe he keeps it. But I think that the boosters and stuff want him to go. But yeah, like 33 is not good enough. Like you got to be better than that. And I think. Joel Klatt was talking about that they weren't very resourced, and David Woods was pushing back on that a lot, saying he's the most resourced coach that UCLA's had. Their training table is like, super elite. Like they eat freaking lobster and stuff at the training table. So, yeah, I get it. Like the results need to be better, and then this was a year you sort of like needed to get. It's set up really well that you could have, been pretty good and still, 9-3, and they're not going to get there.
I think the nail in the coffin too was like. Well, they had eight or nine wins the last 2 seasons. You're like, if they get a defense, this is a team that could win the Pac-12. They get that defense, and now it's Chip Kelly's offense that's letting the team down. I think that was kind of that last nail on the coffin, and the Arizona State game is a prime example of that. Even allowing 17 points, like USC fans would kill for a 17-point defensive outing, and the offense comes out and scores 8 at home against a couple win Arizona State team. Like, I feel like that was the nail in the coffin. And you bring up the 33-33 record, and people will say like, well, he had the struggle years to start, but look what he's built the team into the last couple years. I think that the big thing for me is the winning record, or the record for Chip Kelly against winning opponents. So teams that finish above 500 is 6-28.
Yeah,
that's just it's not cutting it. And I heard Joel Klatt say the same thing. I didn't really understand it. I think he was saying support wise when it comes to attendance for fans and maybe NIL backing and everything like that. But I don't think that you can make an excuse at that point, because 33-33 isn't good, even if there have been good years in that stretch. 6-28 against winning teams is way, way, way worse. And going into the Big Ten, where you're not only competing with USC, Oregon, Washington from your own conference, but you're going up against the Penn States, the Michigans, the Ohio States of the world. You need a strong program, and I just don't see Chip Kelly bringing that to UCLA, at least the way that it's been trending. So, we'll see if it actually happens. But I was a little surprised, but maybe not a lot surprised, considering what's happened under his tenure, and then that game against Arizona State. It's hard to move on from that, I think, in the minds of fans.
Yeah, that was a rough one. That was a bad, like potentially the worst loss in the conference this year, right? Like the
and how many quality wins can you pull out?
Yeah, there's not much. I mean, USC doesn't have much either. They got the Arizona win. But,
I mean, not even just from this year, but just from the of the 33-33, how many of those 33 quality wins are there?
Yeah, like you beat a terrible USC team and 2 years ago and stuff. Yeah. But yeah, as far as bad losses, Colorado lost to Stanford at home, that was pretty terrible.
Yeah.
But Stanford ended up beating Washington State too.
Almost beating Washington, yeah.
Yeah, Stanford showed some life, but Arizona State, and they've showed some life, but they'd only beat one FBS team all year, and so to come into the Rose Bowl and just beat them by 10, that was bad.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all we've got for the show today. It was kind of a a mix of things,
Yeah.
kind of a grab bag of. Got to talk to Justin Dedich. That was a fun interview. Had him going mobile at one point, the helicopter going above. So that was a fun one. And then obviously talking about the game. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you've been here from the beginning, you guys are the best. Make sure you're leaving a like here on YouTube, hitting the subscribe button, following the show, leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Ryan, I know you're actively searching for those at the moment.
We've got some new ones. That's good. Yeah,
That's great. Those will come on the next Peristyle podcast. Is that right?
for sure.
All right. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, especially if you're one of the people that left those reviews. You guys are the actual best. But thank you guys, so much for watching. We will be live again for Tunnel Vision. After the game against UCLA. It'll be kind of that last big recap show of the regular season before we are in limbo a bit through the bye week and then finding out what bowl game USC plays in. So not going to the Pac-12 championship game, which is what the bye week next week was what we thought it was going to be for. So not sure what the media availability will be. So this is kind of one of the last big Tunnel Vision shows of the regular season. So thank you guys for tuning in for the season as well as watching this show in general. Ryan, any thoughts before you round it out?
No, I appreciate everyone coming in, and sorry it was a little loud with Justin, but at least you got to hear from him, and hopefully you guys enjoyed that conversation. And then enjoy the game. Then you kind of sit back and watch college football for a weekend, eat a lot of turkey, enjoy your Thanksgiving, and then we'll find out that Sunday really where USC ends up going bowling. I'm still going to go to the Pac-12 championship game. So if you're, I know there's some USC fans that already bought their tickets, and some people were trying to sell them in the chat for our Peristyle podcast before, or I think on the podcast with Champions earlier today. But if you're going to be out there, let me know. Maybe we'll do a little meetup or something. But I'm still going to go check it out. I like going to the game either way. So it should be a lot of fun. But I hope everyone enjoys the. Just go out there. You don't get to see college football all the time. Go out there, check it out. I know it might be a little rainy or whatever. Just go see a football game, fun afternoon, come back, and go about your day. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
I think it is. If it is your last chance to see Caleb Williams, I think you'll kick yourself if you don't go. So, especially to pack the Coliseum for a rivalry game. But yes, thank you guys so much for packing the show. I'm Jack Smith, joined in studio by Ryan